The recording of the volume of air movement in and out of the lungs is known as spirometry, and it is used to better understand the body's pulmonary ventilation. We usually measure this with the help of a spirogram, this device that you breathe into using a mouthpiece. When you breathe in, air from the oxygen chamber decreases, decreasing the air pressure necessary to resist this drum from falling to the bottom. The drum is attached to a string that connects to a recording drum that writes the present lung volume in millimeters based on the way you breathe. What you will get after a trial of this spirogram is a wave-like pattern. The peaks of these waves indicate how much a person is inhaling air, while the very pits indicate how much a person is exhaling air at a given time. Evaluating the volume of air movement comes in four types. We have tidal volume, or how much we inhale or exhale normally. In a spirogram recording, these are the unremarkable waves that seem to be most numerous. It is the peak minus the pits of these unremarkable waves. We also have the inspiratory reserve volume, or the actual volume we inhale when we breathe in air at full force. In a spirogram recording, this is the peak of the highest of these waves minus the peak of our unremarkable waves. Expiratory reserve volume is the air we exhale when we breathe out. In a spirogram recording, these are the lowest of the low minus the normal waves that go down. Finally, there is residual volume, or the amount of air left in our lungs after we exhale at our fullest. In a spirogram, it is the amount of space left for the drum to reach the top board of the chamber after we exhale so much air. If we were to look at the spirogram recording, this is just the recording of the deepest wave. But as an equation, it is more so the recording of the deepest wave minus 0. As long as our number is not equal to 0, there's at least some air in our lungs left, even after we expel out air. Volumes of air we breathe in is not the only thing we try to understand in our lungs. Sometimes, to better understand the average state of a person's lungs, we need to compare volumes through measurements we call lung capacities. Just like our volumes, we have four types. Inspiratory capacity is the maximum amount of air our lungs can breathe in after a normal exhalation. In an equation, this is tidal volume plus the inspiratory reserve volume. In other words, if you take a deep breath right now, assuming that you haven't exercised at all before this or did anything to alter your breathing patterns, you just took in all the air your lungs can gather, hence your inspiratory capacity. But what if you jump rope before you did your deep breathing? You are now doing heavy breathing and you are inhaling and exhaling more than you do when you are just sitting in your desk. You also realize that after inhaling the most amount of air, you seem to be exhaling more air than the air you took in. What do you call this greater amount of air you've taken out right now? And where did this extra air come from? Well, this is your vital capacity. This is the maximum amount of air you can exhale, period. In an equation, this is the tidal volume plus the inspiratory and expiratory reserve volume. The extra air came from residual air in our lungs that makes sure that the lungs doesn't crumple like a paper bag when you inhaled all the air out of it. This extra air is needed so to keep your lungs intact, maintain alveolar pressure, and for it to not collapse on itself by the pressure in our pleural cavity. If we are just talking about the air left in our lungs after normal exhalation, we call this functional residual capacity. This is residual volume plus expiratory reserve volume, the average amount of air left in our lungs when we don't abnormally change our breathing pattern. We don't usually expel all of this residual air in our lungs, but when we do, there's a possibility that we can inhale so much air to compensate for the lack of alveolar pressure in our lungs and reach our total lung capacity, the maximum amount that our lungs can expand. In an equation, this is our vital capacity plus the residual volume. We don't usually reach peak efficiency in the lungs unless the body really needs extra oxygen, but it can be a good indicator of whether we are stressing our lungs too much. If our tidal volume is anywhere near total lung capacity, it usually means that you are putting on too much effort to even do normal breathing, or that you may be suffering from some pulmonary disease. If this is the case, it is best to seek professional help.